Hey everybody, welcome back with your boy Benoit Mac with another WWF Smackdown Just Bring It playthrough in story mode. Now this time we're going to go over how to unlock the Insurrextion Arena. We're going to go through the whole path and the matches and all the cutscenes, so if you just want to know the basic steps, check in the comments below. But if you're still interested in seeing, me ramble on about what's going on in the game or, the characters that are interacting with each other, keep watching. It's always a good time. Now, to start off with, as usual, when Vince asks you, do you want to form a tag team? You tell him no. Now, as you can see, I skipped quite a bit of the fluff. Now we're just going straight into the ring where the first title contender is going to call you out. Or I should say, I always keep saying they call you out, but I think it's more they call out the champion, which is The Rock. Which, if you remember our Mick Foley playthrough, he's going to be pretty much the world champion in all these playthroughs at this point. And then you come out to confront him on stage, announcing yourself as more of a viable challenger. Yeah, man, I've said it once, I've said it a million times. These cutscenes go on for way too long. As much as I like Edge too, I feel like at this time, I hate the randomizing, because I feel like at this time he was nowhere near the world title picture. But here we go, Chris Benoit, the Crippler coming out. I always loved that outfit of Chris Benoit's. That was always my favorite. So you're gonna hit trash talk on the microphone, or talk trash on the microphone, same thing. Although I think realistically, from what I've kind of gathered, I even kind of tested it in this playthrough, what you really just need to do is get through this first match, whether it's the Fatal 4-Way, a one-on-one, anything, it doesn't really matter as long as you just get to next week. I'm not even sure what would happen. I've never actually tested it out if you lose this first match. I'm assuming you just wouldn't, that's it. That's the end of the story. You're not going to continue, but I don't know. I mean, with how many choices there are in this game, it's kind of, it's something that I probably should have play tested at some point to see if you just, if you actually carry on to the next week on SmackDown. But as you've seen, Chris Benoit, he's also one of those special wrestlers to get a special bit of dialogue. I'm sure Chris Jericho is one of them too, it's just he's the Intercontinental champion. So I never actually tested it out. But then you're going to want to head downstairs to Michael Cole, as you can see. And realistically, once again, I don't really think it matters at this point, because if you're just messing with him, then you can go on to another storyline progression. But if you hit because I want to kick his butt all over this arena, you're going to go on to finding Vince in the parking lot. But this time I figured I'd somewhat try and mix it up. And, I know you've seen the Battle Royals a few times already, but we're going to go with the Fatal 4-Way route. He's saying so much. It's like one of those Japanese, movies back in the days in the 60s, the 70s with Bruce Lee. I think it was the 60s, 70s, where it'll be the characters talking for 10 minutes and they'll say nothing at all. So as you can see here, we're just gonna really quick. I sped it up as fast as I could. I'm just running around backstage waiting for the time to expire to get the Fatal 4-Way like you would in Jerry Lynn's story mode. Here we go, Vince, apparently coming from the arena, side of the parking lot. The dialogue is so goofy. I was looking for you. What are you going to do for tonight's match? There are opportunities waiting for you in the ring. Now Chris Benoit is apparently the one who's talking. I don't really understand it, what they were going with these kind of cutscenes. So yeah, now we got Edge, Dean Malenko, and Albert in a Fatal 4-Way elimination. It's kind of interesting. I always thought it was cool in this game. I think this was kind of one of the last few games, maybe in Shut Your Mouth, where they kind of would still give you old entrance themes and stuff, and Titantrons you could use for your created wrestlers or to put on the wrestlers. Like Stone Cold has his Disturbed theme and his heel theme. I believe they had the Raggles theme from 2000, despite the fact... Actually, I think they came back for a little while, but they were definitely not a team by the time this game released. And then obviously, they have the DX theme. I remember seeing... I tried to just take off all the songs in Create a Wrestler mode, which would have been a pain in the butt. But it wouldn't let me. For whatever reason, you can't just pick no song in this game. I don't know if that was something that added into the next game or what, but I just had to edit it out, unfortunately, due to copyrights. And I think in this game too, this was theoretically around this time, I believe, is when Edge, he won the King of the Ring for this year. And then, they had the whole storyline with him and Christian breaking up and them fighting at, I think for the first time at Invasion. But it's interesting that they still have him as a tag team here. And I don't know, it would have been really nice if they were able, instead of like a story mode, they were able to, do season mode again and maybe just kind of port over, make new cutscenes for the things that happened that year. Which, like I said, I always say, I feel like Just Bring It, what they originally wanted to do was they wanted to, what it was going to be was probably something similar to Shut Your Mouth season mode, where you just pick somebody and you do storylines based off of what they were for those years. But, with the success of No Mercy, obviously, championship mode was a big deal. That was kind of, they at least tried to do stuff like that. And story mode for Just Bring It, it just wasn't the same. Like I said, the cutscenes weren't very good. It seemed like they had a lot of other issues and just time constraints and the changing of everything. It was just it was just too much, I think. But they definitely made it up for it in Shut Your Mouth from the sounds of it. Like, I haven't actually played Shut Your Mouth, but it's one of those things where I've done like the first month maybe of season mode, and I think it's one of those things where, from what I can tell, it seems like nostalgia is a little bit blinded in that fact for how good it was. Like, I walked around backstage trying to find things to do, and at most, I'd walk into somebody and they'd just say something stupid, like Val Venus, and then you'd see Val Venus backstage one week, then you'd see him again and he'd say the same thing. But it was a pretty cool concept at the very least. But navigating in this game too, navigating backstage, I don't know why they did it like it's where you can't really control the camera. So, you have to walk forward, tilt a little bit. I know once you shut your mouth you can run, but it was just kind of more of a hassle to explore, in my opinion. And then it's one of those things where it's cool, you can go on the train and go to all these different places, but I feel like with this one too, they're empty. Like, you can do it, but there's nothing there. There's no real, alright, I've seen WWF New York, and that's kind of the end of it. There's not really anything to do in story mode. Oh man, Dean Malenko was the first one to go. He always had like a really weird looking body to me. Like, he had a weird kind of out of shape looking upper body, to where he like kind of had a very slight stomach by the end of his career, where he looked like he was getting almost a beer gut, and then like his back just looked kind of like curved in. It just didn't look right. And then he had like these really super stubby legs, but they were also kind of really thick by his thighs. So it's just one of the weirdest physiques I've ever seen. They actually got it down pretty good in this game. feel like Albert was also somebody who just, they never really had anything interesting to kind of do with him. They always just kind of threw him into something random. You know, like he started out as Prince Albert, and he was with Droz as tattoo artist, and I feel like that made sense. But as we all know, you know, the unfortunate, you know, injury, you know, the paralyzed Droz, you know, that put an end to that. Then, you know, he was with the Boss Man, feuding against the Big Show for a little while, but he didn't really... They were actually a team for like quite a few months. But I feel like they were kind of immediately overshadowed when Bull Buchanan was introduced as Big Boss Man's partner. Like, it made a lot more sense. I actually liked Bull Buchanan when he was in, you know, the SWAT gear. I think he was a friend of Boss Man who worked at like a federal prison or something like that. A lot of people say that the Boss Man was just too over the top, but I actually loved that stuff. I thought it was... People still remember it to these days, you know. I mean, people remember the Pepper stuff. People remember the, you know, when he wrote the poem about Big Show's dad. And it was one of those feuds that was weird, because, like, all the stuff that happened with him and the Big Show was on their way to Survivor Series. And obviously, Big Show won the title. And then, I mean, they just did nothing with it. I mean, I think Boss Man won against The Rock due to Albert's interference on Raw right after Survivor Series. So he won the chance to go for the world title. But then it was just something weird where, like, they just didn't interact. The Big Show did not do anything as world champion. He didn't interact with anybody. A lot of people, I mean, it was a very forgettable reign because they just, I feel bad for the Big Show on that one. They had nothing. He did absolutely nothing to interact with those guys. And then I think after that, he just lost the belt to Triple H pretty much right after. But it's just kind of, it's just a very sad, you know, probably one of the best showcases of Big Show's bad booking. Alright, we got Edge out of there. I think this was around the time he was still using his downward spiral, if I remember. But yeah, speaking of weird Albert gimmicks, I mean, he had this one where he was with the X Factor. Then I think after this, he was dancing with Scotty 2 Hotty. He's just a guy that they just had no idea what to do with, I feel like. Then he came back as Tenzai at some point. A-Train was probably the best chance he was ever going to get. Oh, speaking of Albert, here he is again. I just beat you last match. How are you trying to say you're going to have a shot at the title? And always irritated me that he was in this game representing the X Factor, but X-Pac, the actual leader, and Justin Credible, who would have been a new addition and would have really padded out the alliance a lot better. They just kind of left those guys out, but they put him in there. I never really understood that. It seems like there were a lot of guys who were intended to be in this game that they just didn't, you know. Leftover Attitude Era guys like D'Lo and Val Venus, and then obviously they didn't have DDP, Booker T, RVD, the guys that you want the new alliance guys to be in, but which is unfortunate. They didn't really seem to know what they wanted to do with the roster. So as you've seen right there, when somebody calls you out, don't come back. Don't show up on the stage, I should say. And this is pretty important. He's going to say go to William Regal, as you've seen. And William Regal's going to ask you one of three choices. So he's going to ask you if you want to go for the Intercontinental title. You can ask to go for the European, or you can just say not interested. But yeah, you have to talk to Earl Hebner first. I forgot about that. And then you just gotta make sure you don't go for the hardcore title. You gotta say, how you doing? Like, look at how long this is taking. This is not a bad... I keep complaining about it. This realistically isn't really that bad of a game at all, fundamentally, but then you just have goofy stuff that like takes so long with this. Like, it's not just story mode, it's short and it's, you don't have as many choices as you'd like or anything like that. It's just to the point where, like, they drag things out because they had nothing there. I mean, why are these cutscenes so long when they're not saying anything? But yeah, of course, for Insurrextion, which is the UK pay-per-view, you're going to want to go for the European Championship here. And you have to get to the second week in order to enable this, because if you just ask in the first week to go for the European title, it just doesn't activate the storyline for whatever reason. Which always just, I never really understood it.
World Wrestling Federation European title.
In fact, this is proof of concept because I did it myself, where I was Hardcore Holly, as you're about to see, is the champion, and I thought, okay, just go for the European title. That's all I have to do, but nope, you have to do it on the second week, or else you just win the European title, and that's the end of the storyline for whatever reason. I always thought Hardcore Holly was kind of an underrated wrestler. I mean, I'm not saying he was like a main event level guy or anything like that, but I always thought he was a somewhat solid mid-carder. And he always did seem, he was pretty good in the ring, in my opinion, as far as a roughneck, hard-hitting kind of wrestler. I feel like we don't really have those guys anymore. Like, people, when they think of those kind of guys, they just think of like that strong style Japanese, where it's just, let's do these super hard chops and take turns chopping each other and all that stuff. I like it when it's still somewhat portrayed as, I guess, as realistic as wrestling can be, but, like guys like JBL, where, they lay their stuff in. Those are the kind of guys that I really like, but those are also the guys, unfortunately, that, they were like boys and kind of, real dickheads, if we're being honest, Chris Benoit, I think, was a little bit like that as well. He was awful person. I'm not going to really get into the details for that. Everybody knows, but I'm certainly a fan of Hardcore Holly's ring work. Spark plug. Thurman Sparkplug Holly. If you didn't know, that was Bob Holly's original name in the WWE when he first debuted as a NASCAR driver. You can call me Sparky, he said in his opening promo. I've been pretty much saying like a clip to check out every episode of the Just Bring It the Just Bring It playthroughs, I should say. Sorry for the stuttering, but if the clip for this week is gonna have to be that. Check out Thurman Sparky Plug's vignettes before he debuted. So you see, you win the European Championship, but the storyline continues. So you're gonna go at whatever random pay-per-view is next, and you're gonna go for the title belt, or defend the title belt, I should say. I don't know if it's because Albert called me out earlier on the stage or not, but I mean, it is kind of, sometimes you get lucky, I feel like, with continuity, where since he called me out, I took him out and all this other stuff, that now it's kind of fitting the final match is with Albert. He's been talking for 20 minutes and said nothing. So, No Mercy, a great game. I think for some people, like, it starts at SummerSlam.
World Wrestling Federation European title.
Oh, and just so you know, if you happen to have noticed, obviously the commentary isn't on. Just in case if you don't know, you can actually turn the commentary off in this game. It'll go to the options and it'll be play-by-play. You can set the volume. I just set it to off because, I mean, it's funny for a little bit, but then it just gets super annoying. I mean, I don't know how they managed to make so many facets of this game so bad. In the sense of, I mean, if you've ever listened to the commentary, I mean, it's just, they had to have told like Michael Cole and Taz to say random phrases, but like, it'd be like, Chris Benoit is an excellent wrestler. or the superstar is having a great night tonight. Just stupid things like that. They don't actually say anything. They argue and just say nonsense for like the first minute as they introduce each other and talk about who's facing who and stuff. Who are you talking to? But like I said, it's funny at first, but then it just kind of gets so annoying. And it's weird because, I mean, you go back to Attitude and Warzone, and I always thought the announcing was pretty competent. I know a lot of people have a lot of complaints about that game, yeah, those games as well, but I mean, I loved both of those games. I feel like especially Warzone kind of still has that charm. And then Attitude, I think it's very basic, especially in comparison. I mean, just look at how this game is compared to Attitude. I think people are a little over-exaggerate about, you know, oh, it's like a fighting game and all these crazy fun combinations, and I wouldn't say that they're wrong, but usually, like, how I play is, you know, even if it's someone new, I'm not really worried about what exact moves I'm doing unless it's my finisher. So, I mean, just pretty much do a random button combination, you know, back, up, you know, left, up, speed, you know, it's a fighting game, you know, type of move and stuff like that, but I still think it's, people kind of exaggerate it a little bit for how bad it is. But, I mean, that's sad to each their own. I mean, I've been complaining about this game the entire playthrough. And I don't mean to sound so negative, because I really do. I mean, I wouldn't go through all this, you know, these storylines, and, you know, because it's like 40 minutes per storyline. You're just seeing all the cut down kind of footage feed, but, you know, obviously I do have a lot of fun with this game. But looks like that's it for Chris Benoit's European Championship title run. Alright then, with that, remember to like, comment any questions or concerns, and subscribe for more daily content. Ring the bell to be notified of that daily content, and once again, you know, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and, you know, bearing with me with my ramblings. So, you know, hopefully you guys are entertained by this while I find my footing. Remember to have a nice day.